If you think you're losing because of the stock, no, the stock was fine. The entry, that is what destroyed the trade in front of your eyes, costing you thousands of dollars in profits. In this video, I'm going to show you guys why even a bad entry can ruin the best setups, and what a good entry actually looks like, and how I personally enter trades with precision so I don't have to be stressed right the moment I'm in, and that's how I could profit consistently, and how I personally enter the trade with precision so that I don't have to be stressed the moment I'm in the trade. Let's go. So most traders actually do this, right? They do a bit of research and they like a stock idea that was shared, right? And they just want to buy the stock, but they have no idea when to get in, right? So whether should they jump in right now, should they wait for 1 day, 1 week? Most people will not have an idea, right? There's no actual reason to actually enter the trade. So they see prices kind of like moving up a little bit, and they get scared that then they might miss out, and they jump right in. That's why I call it FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. One of the emotions that can affect you to just jump right in, or even if there's no reason to jump in. So most people want to be in the trade more than they want to be right? They just want to get in because they're afraid they will miss out. They just want to buy something today, right? Because this stock, I heard that it's good, right? Why not just get in, right? It doesn't matter what price. And this leads to them getting in at the wrong time. So the stock could be good, right? But they got in at the wrong time, it starts coming down. And on the moment they get in, all right, they feel, they don't feel confident, right? Because they lack clarity when they got in. There's no clear reason, all right? So they just jump in, right? So that's where they feel a little bit stressed. And that's where they kind of like second guess whether they made the right move, or maybe, it's a good stock, but then they got in at the wrong time. So let's dive into the second part whereby, what does a good entry actually looks like? What is the clear reason why you should actually buy a stock, right? It's not just by guessing, not just because of fear of missing out, because somebody bought, you don't get in, all right? You went a little bit higher, you just want to jump in, right? No, right? There's a very clear reason why you want to get in, and this is what we call confirmation. So what exactly are the confirmations that we actually look for in terms of an entry setup? So first, let's take a look at this stock right over here called Broadcom, one of the very popular stocks that we do call for it as well, right? A couple of months back, and the code is AVGO. So not too bad. You can see this is the price chart of Broadcom, and whenever we take any position, right? First of all, we want to take positions that is along with what they call the longer term trend, right? So you can see that in this stock, I would say that the longer term trend is pretty much up, right? You can see just by looking at what we call the lows, right? It has been coming, higher and higher and higher, all right? I would say kind of like, higher lows over the past 1 over year. So these are stocks that we definitely want to think about getting in. So at least we are in the same direction as the longer term trend. But longer term trend doesn't mean we just get in anytime, right? As I say, right, we want to get more confirmations. Longer term trend being up is just one confirmation only, right? So what we could do is that we could actually turn on what we call the moving averages. So I have this indicator right over here, and I could just turn on like the 100 days and the 200 days moving average. So you can see for Broadcom, well, quite simply, or you can see that the 100 days moving average line is pointing up. The 200 days moving average line is pointing up. The blue line is the 200 days, and the red line is the 100 days. So both of these two lines are kind of like pointing up. So yeah, we want to think about getting in on counters like this, right? But not anyhow, or because you could be getting in, like over here, and it starts coming down. Does it make sense? All right, you could be getting in over here and it starts coming down. All right, so even though the longer term trend is up, we want to at least get in only when there's signs of a reversal, right, in the short term. And that brings us to what we call the short term trend, right? How do we actually tell whether the short term trend is up or down? And when both the longer term trend and short term trend is up, I think it's even better. That's where you get a higher winning probability. So how do we tell the short term trend? Well, very simple. Let me go ahead to turn on what we call the green 20 days moving average right over here based on my indicator that I have. So you can see right over here, I've turned on the green 20 days moving average, the green line. All right, so we have a green, a red, and a blue line. So very simple, as see, the longer term trend is up. But it doesn't mean that the short term trend is always up, right? The short term trend could be down, right? How do we know whether it's down? Well, very simple. When the green line starts going down, that means that the short-term trend is down, right? Same thing over here. The green line starts to point out. It could be 1 week, it could be a month, it could be 2 months, right? And when the green line points down, and most people, like for example over here for Broadcom over here, right? AVGO, right? So it starts coming down and down, and 1-2 days later, it starts to rebound back up. You say green, bullish candlestick bar right over here, and you're afraid that it will start to rebound all the way up, fear of missing out, right? So you just jump right in because you saw one bullish candlestick bar coming in. But that bullish candlestick bar is just one confirmation. It doesn't really mean anything, right? If you don't combine it with other confirmations. So yeah, it could be one bullish candlestick bar, but what happens, right? The short-term trend was still down, and the next day we actually broke what we call like a support level. So there was a little bit of a support level. You see, that was where we rebounded, went down, rebounded one day. People might thought that they might miss out, right? It will start to go all the way up, but no, right? We're still at the support level. The green line was obviously still pointing down, and we broke down the support level, right? So same thing. Went down, and another green candlestick bar comes in, right? So most people, same thing. You see a green candlestick bar, green should be good, right? It's a bullish bar. So you just rush into buy. But no, right? We don't just look at candlestick bar by itself, right? You want to look at the trend, right? In terms of the short-term trend, which was pretty much down. So most people, I would say, would take what we call like a bad entry. They'll just probably rush in over here to get in. Maybe it goes down a little bit more. They start to get in again, all right? And they see a couple of green bars coming out and they start to get in again, right? But no, you don't want to do that, because when you do that, you can see that obviously it starts heading even lower because the short-term trend, look at the green line, continues to turn down, down, and down, right? So there's no confirmation of a reversal going up yet. So that would be what I call, a good stock, right? Longer term trends up, but it's kind of like a bad entry or a entry at the wrong time, because in the short term you're kind of like heading lower. So why not let it hit lower and lower, find some stability, bottom out, signs of buyers coming back in, or a little bit of bargain hunting coming back, and then maybe stabilize, and maybe there's some signs of a reversal, and then you get back in, right? Rather than just get it in, right? Because you're just afraid of missing out, afraid that you might just reverse anytime, right? But most of the time it doesn't happen that way, right? Most of the time as it goes down and down and down, it will consolidate for a while before attempting to reverse back up, and it gives you time and gives you confirmation to get back in when the time comes, right? So we don't just want to rush in because we see a couple of bullish candlestick coming out as it hits even lower and lower. Like, we don't want to rush. And the thing is that we have broken what we call a support level. So for example, right, the longer term trend is up, the short term trend can be down, right? So that was where we saw, as I mentioned, a support over here. So when we break a support level, a horizontal support level, and the short term trend is down, well, that is not a good entry, because that's where potentially we could see even more downside, right? And that's the reason why people who rush in, because it's cheaper, right? It's cheaper because you break a support level, it goes even lower, and most people might think it's cheap, right? And you can get in a cheaper price, and then now there's a higher chance for it to rebound because it's gone even lower, right? But no, right? When the support has broken a key horizontal support level that it has rebounded from previously, and that has broken, it just means that the stock is weaker, right? We could see more weakness in the short term. So don't rush. You want to wait for what we call more confirmations to get back in. All right, so what would be like a good entry? What would be a good confirmation, right, to get back in when the time comes, right? Well, what we could do is that we could wait at least for the short-term trend to turn up. So you look at this, right? I mentioned that the green 20 days moving average line that represents the short-term trend, right? It is going down and down and down, right? We don't want it to go down, right? We want it to at least flatten out, right? Just stop pointing down, right? At least flatten out, or at least showing signs of a reversal. That could be a good confirmation that at least the short-term trend is starting to turn up. And the longer-term trend, I mean, since like 1 or 2 years back, it has been up, right? So that's fine, no problem, right? But we want the short-term trend to also turn back up. And when the short-term trend turn back up and the longer-term trend is already up, does it make sense that you get more confirmation that is now looking more bullish? Does it make sense? All right, so that is where we could look at what we call the green 20 days moving average line. You can see, right, it's going down and down. Wait for it. And yeah, right over here, right, it just starts flattening out for like 1-2 days, and it starts to point up right over here. So when this green line starts to point up, well, doesn't mean you just want to rush it, right? Well, that could be just a sign that the short-term trend is beginning to turn up. It's like looking a little bit more bullish, or it's not just like going down and down and down and down, right? No, right? It's starting to flatten out, starting to see a bit of a bottom being found. So that could be one of the good signals to watch out for. And the next signal could be where, if you actually see any higher lows being found or higher supports that is being found. So for example, right over here, you can see that as it goes down and down for Broadcom, we actually saw a support right over here. So at this point in time, nobody will know that it will rebound from here, right? Nobody will know, right? So you might say that, oh, I could have just bought right here, but nobody will know that would be the low, right? So that is the kind of like the first support we've rebounded from. But as it goes up, you can see came back down and we've rebounded again right away. That would be what we call the second support level. So obviously the second support level is higher than the first support level. So what we call higher lows. That just shows that buyers are kind of like starting to come up. It didn't like fall back to the previous low. It just went down a little bit. Buyers came back and it starts pushing back up. So that could be another confirmation that we might have found a bottom. All right, higher lows plus the green 20 days moving average line that represents the short-term trend is also starting to turn up. Right, so that could be another confirmation, right? So what would be another confirmation? Well, I would say that we could wait for another confirmation. That would be if we could actually break above any resistance level that came out as we headed lower. So for example, right over here, we could draw this resistance level. You can see, right? So that would be maybe over here. So this would be what we call like a support. It broke down. It became a resistance level, right? Right over here, resistance. And we want to go ahead to go above this resistance level right over here. So we're going to go ahead to break that resistance. It was originally the support level. If we can break above that resistance level, that's good. It shows that buyers are starting to come back up, right? We are trying to attempt to push to a higher high, all right? And that could be signs of even more confirmation that the short-term trend is starting to take shape, all right? And prices are pushing higher. So those are what we call good entries, whereby you want to get in when you see confirmations like this, right? Or entry points that can point to more upside. And when you see this, good confirmation, that's where when you enter a trade, there's a reason why you are getting in, right? Because there's signs of a reversal, or it's not because it was cheap. It's not because you just saw one, bullish candlestick bar coming out of nowhere. No, all right? It is because, there are signs of the trend turning up. There are signs of it breaking the resistance to attempt to push higher. And even like the consolidation pace is, starting to go higher and higher, higher lows. And yeah, perhaps this bullish candlestick bar that comes in now could support that view. So we don't just look at bullish candlestick bar. So most people make the mistake of looking at bullish candlestick bar, right? They just look at the candlestick bar. So it's a green bar and red bar, and then they see a green bar, they think it's bullish. Yeah, but it could just be a green bar in a downtrend, all right? And this goes down and down, right? So we look at candlestick bar. Not saying it's not important, it's important, right? But that gives us kind of like a bonus confirmation when we want to take an entry trade. Like for example, let's take a look at maybe over here. Like over here, for example, let's say remember we talked about it going down here and we started to see a bit of a rebound. So when it rebounded from here, that's where we saw what we call a few bullish candlestick bar. Look at this, right? This one we call something like hammer, whereby it has a long lower shadow, even though it's red in color, but it has a candlestick bar with a long lower shadow. Same thing over here. Look at this, right? Red bar, a green bar, but we have a what we call a reversal kind of candlestick, long lower shadow. It means like in decision between buyers and sellers, and we started to rebound. So these are all what we call support levels. Bullish candlestick bar coming out, same thing, a support, rebounded, bullish candlestick bar coming out. So that could give us another confirmation that these are pretty much good support levels, right? They're not just support by itself, and then it's a support whereby we saw some normal candlestick bar, but it's a support whereby we saw some bullish candlestick bar. So it just gives more weight to that particular support level. Does it make sense? So that's how you want to time your entry to get back in, right? When the time is right, when there are signs of reversal. And look at this, right over here, you can see that we start to see prices going up, all the way up. Of course, the green 20 days moving average line is still pointing up. We would have found multiple support levels along the way. So look at this, right? So that would be like another support level. I think there will be another support level as well. You can see, right? So it starts to consolidate higher and higher. So consolidate, pump, and goes higher. I think there would be probably another support level right over here, maybe around at 260. So it starts to consolidate and push higher. So consolidate, pump, consolidate, pump, consolidate, pump, consolidate, pump, right? So it might just, do that, right? So as it consolidates, it moves higher, the green line continues to move up, and that's where the support is getting higher and higher. So that's where, as it moves up, when you get those confirmations of a reversal, so that's where you could time your entry to get in near what we call a support level, near a horizontal support level, like over here, right? You can see on little dips over here, especially we see those bullish candlestick coming out. Good, like over here as well, you see bullish candlestick coming out. That could be signs of even more upside. You could time your entry to get in at these buy zones to potentially ride even more upside. So in a nutshell, that's how you could time your entry to get in on a good stock, right? So it could be a good stock, but you get in at the wrong time, then you might miss out on a lot of upside, or you might get in and then it starts going down and down and down, and if it starts reversing back up, you're like back to square one. So we're going to try to get in on a good stock at the right time, right? And that's where you have a higher chance to make profits, all right, in the stock market. So guys, if you want to find out about the entire one good trend strategy that I have, right, what happens is that you can attend one of those free webinars that I'm still running, the links right below the video, and that's where I'll share with you guys a little bit more about the several confirmations that we want to have, right, before thinking about getting in, and how perhaps I have an indicator. Let me just show you guys this indicator right over here called the One Good Trend Pro indicator. So I can just remove all the drawings very quickly, right? And you can see right over here, if I can turn on what we call the One Good Trend Pro indicator. So I've turned on the 3 moving averages, right? That represents the short-term trend, the green 20 days moving average line, right? The red line, the 100 days moving average, and the blue line, the 200 days moving average. So I've gone through them just now, right? But what happens is that I could turn on this bullish and bearish signals based on my One Good Trend Pro indicator. Let me show you. 1, 2, 3, turn it on, and there we go. So that's where we get another confirmation, right, to actually get that in. So remember right over here, right, when we were talking about it just now, we mentioned about the green line kind of like pointing down, and then you see like a bullish candle, you get in, another bullish candle, you get in, and you see bullish candles, you get in, right? But what happens is that, of course, the green line was pointing down. We talked about it then, right? But what happens was, actually, when I turned on the 1GT Pro indicator, we actually had a couple of bearish signals coming out. So that would be another confirmation whereby, it's kind of like, pointing down is bearish. Why do you want to get in when we get bearish red signals? Does it make sense, right? You don't want to get in, of course, apart from what I talked about just now regarding the trend going down and all that, right? So we don't want to get in, right? We only want to get in when we see signs of a reversal, like the green line turning up. And also if we do get like another 1GT bullish signal. So this is what we call like a 1GT bullish signal. If it goes down and down and then we get this bullish signal, there could be signs of a reversal. This is one additional confirmation. So we can see right over here, right? 1GT bullish signal, right? The green line that was going down, right, started to point up, and that was where you could see the reversal actually started all the way up. All right, of course, the trailing support now follows Broadcom as it hits even higher. So this trailing support would actually be another confirmation as we stay above it, right? It will be like, it accounts for volatility. We give it space to hopefully move higher. So we subsequently have 2 more bullish signals. It is still above the trailing support. So I think it still looks pretty good on any dips near, the horizontal support that I talk about, or maybe even near this trailing support. Those could be good entries, right? Especially if we see bullish candlesticks coming out over there. Like for example, it dips over here. We see a couple of reversal candlestick coming out, and it starts hitting even higher. Same thing, right? We found a support here. It didn't really go down to the trailing support. It just went down to the horizontal support that was slightly higher. Bullish candlesticks coming out, and it starts going even higher. So candlesticks come in later, right? Whereby, you get all the confirmations that it's in an uptrend in the longer term, in the short term, and it's above the horizontal support, it's above the trailing support, and you see bullish candlesticks coming in and all these little zones, right? That would be more confirmations of the upside reversal, and that's where you could really think about getting in, timing your entry, all right, to ride even more upside. So that would not be a bad entry. That would be what we call a profitable entry, entry that is a high probability entry. Okay, let's take a look at another stock that I've shared by clients of mine in Philip Securities, whereby I think there could be some really good entries as well over the past few months. So you can see, right, for this stock called Yangtzejiang Financial Holding, well, the longer term trend is up. Look at the red and the blue line both pointing up. So longer term trend is up, right? And the short term, it was like up, and it started to flatten out. So when the short term trend flatten out, it means that we are in a sideways consolidation. That's where we could draw what we call a horizontal, what we call resistance level. Look at this, right? That was like a resistance. We came back down, and we are pretty much trading below it over the past like 2 to 3 months. And same thing, there will be what we call a horizontal support level. So the support used to be like over here, rebounded, and it got even a little bit higher, right? Over the past 2 months, slightly higher. So it went from here all the way to here. So when the longer term trend is up and the short term trend starts to move a little bit sideways, well, it could be a good entry as well, especially as I say, you start to see, bullish candlestick coming out at those zones right over here. But look at it, right? So as it approaches, there's some reversal candle, it starts pushing up. Same thing over here. Some bullish reversal candlestick, it starts pushing up higher as well. So that could be what we call good entries. More higher reward to risk kind of entry because it's near a support level whereby buyers have came out previously before. There's a higher chance of it rebounding back up. However, there will be another entry that is slightly more expensive, is a little bit more aggressive, and that will be what we call a more aggressive kind of breakout entry, like what we see over the past few days. So look at this stock, right? We've covered it for a while. It was actually trading below like the 76 cents resistance, right? Look at this, right? It came down, but finally over the past 2 days, of course, I've shared out a note with my clients in Philip Securities as well. You'll find a bit more on how you can get some of my top ideas by WhatsApp much faster daily for free at no additional cost. Check out below the video, right? The link is right below the video. But we actually shared this stock with clients of mine in Philip Securities, whereby, I think, it broke the 76 cents, and that there could be more upside, maybe all the way to like 90 cents or even $1, right? It started to push a little bit high. So that would be an entry whereby it's more aggressive, right? It's a bit more expensive, but that's where we could see more upside momentum as well. So how was I alerted to this stock in the first place? Well, let's go back to the 1GT Pro indicator that I have right over here. All right, so I say we could turn on the buy and sell signals in a matter of seconds for any stocks, any asset classes. Let me turn it on. And there we go, right? So you can see, right, we actually got a bullish signal that was like in September last year, and it started to really move up, consolidated, and of course, look at this, right? The green line. Remember, we want a green line to turn up, right? So that would be a confirmation, right? Look at this, the green line was actually flat. A little bit boring, right? And we were pretty much consolidating, so I think that would be a bit of a resistance, something like this over here, right? Let me just draw it to you. I think that would be a bit of a resistance. Look at this, right? I mean, it was just like pretty much moving sideways, green line flattened out. Well, we got a bullish signal, but we hit it to a resistance, and then we were just sideways. Look at this, right? Sideways, and pump. When we broke the resistance level right over here, well, that could be a more aggressive entry, slightly higher, but you can see the green line actually started to point up, right? So that would be another confirmation. Of course, the longer term trend, the red and blue was already up, right? So that would be like another confirmation. And we can see if the bullish candlestick actually comes out right over here as we broke that resistance level. And yeah, it did, right? A couple of bullish candlestick, right, coming out, and it started to push all the way up, right? So yeah, look at this, right? So we got a bullish 1GT signal coming out. It went from like over here somewhere around like 35 cents. Let me just show you, right? It's about 35 cents all the way to around like the 60, 70 cents, about 100%, all right? 100% into about 5 to 6 months, all right? And we got a bearish signal. So when you see a bearish signal, it means that we have broken like what we call a trailing support. It could guide us to just get out first, take some profit, nothing wrong, 100%. I think that's good, right? What happens, right? We saw supports being found, right? Another higher support being found as well, and starts to consolidate. So as it consolidates, we got another bullish signal coming out. So when we get a bullish signal, well, that means that we are starting to see some signs of strength. Obviously, the green line has also stabilized, right, from going down a little bit, started to push up and flattening out. So all these could be zones to think about getting in near what we call the horizontal support level, right? So yeah, we have gone in over here, great. If you see bullish candlestick, bars coming near this support zone like over here, I think that would be even better as well. So you can see over here, we bounded from the support zone, and over the past few days, well, we broke the resistance, and another 1GT bullish signal actually got triggered as well right over here. So let me just go to turn it off and on, all right? And there we go, right? So that's where we got alerted to it as well. And I think that, it looks pretty bullish. It seems like, it's pushing higher as I'm talking, all right? Targets could be like to 90 cents and even to $1 if the 90 cents were to, give way. So that's how you could time your entry on not just, strong stocks, but to time your entry on strong stocks at the right timing, right? Where, you see bullish signals coming out, the short-term trend is not down, it's like at least flat or maybe pointing up, and you see strong supports coming out. Well, you could time your entry to get in near those support zones where some bullish candlesticks are spotted. Or if you see, the trend is up, the short-term trend is up, like for example, right? Look at the green line. Look at the green line. So this green line that was flat, can you see that it is starting to point up? Let me just show you right over here, right? So you can see this green line was flat, it started to point up, right? So the short-term trend has started to turn up as we broke the 76 cents horizontal resistance level, and that would be another confirmation. So yes, I think it looks pretty good, right? We could see more upside. I'm looking forward to see when it goes, right? And if there's any like a bearish signal that comes out, that could guide us to get out, right? So I'm not too sure, right? Previously, as I say, the run was like 100%. Whether this could happen again, I have no idea, right? It could be like 20, 30%, 50%, 60%. I have no idea. But as it continues to push higher and it consolidates and you find higher support along the way, like, it might consolidate higher above 85 or above 90 cents, and that's where we find higher supports. Well, that's a good sign whereby buyers are supporting this stock at a higher price level. Then it is poised to move even higher. And that's where you could take multiple entries as it consolidates at a higher support levels like what I've shared. So there we have it, guys. If you'd like to learn even more about my one good trend strategy and perhaps how you could have access to what we call an indicator like this, right, whereby it comes up with bullish and bearish signals as another confirmation to guide you to get in and maybe to get out as well when the time is right, all right, when you see, bearishness coming back, when you see sellers coming back, well, then you can attend one of those free webinars that have the links right below the video as well. And of course, we do have a free trial for my one good trend, the 1GT light indicator that consists of the buy and sell signal. So you can test it out, right? The link right below the video. Test drive my 1GT light indicator for free, all right? And that's where you could turn it on and off for any asset classes, whether it's Singapore stocks, US stocks, any asset classes, and get an opinion in seconds, get the confirmation that you need so that you get more clarity, after entering a stock, right? For example, if you see a bearish signal, then you probably want to be more patient and wait, right? But if you see a bullish signal like over here, or maybe like what we saw previously, right? That's where you get more confidence or more conviction for entering that particular trade. So I hope you got some value in this video. If you like it, go ahead to give me a like, subscribe, and I look forward to see you in one of my webinars, or I see you in the next video. Joey here. Thank you so much.